All right, guys, today we're going to give you the skinny on home staging.
You better get fired up.
It's Monday. Lissette, how was your weekend?
Amazing. How was yours, Joe? Good
I,
spring break?
we had kids in the house all week, as I'm sure you did. And I did okay because I was working, but my wife was with the kids. I think she maybe lost a few strands of hair there, just pulling them out from the kids. But yeah, it's nice to be back today. They've got another day of being off from school, but tomorrow they'll be back. So at least I'll get my wife back, her sanity back, which is good. So, guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about staging and what is it? What's offered? What are the expected costs? And is it worth it, right? What's my expect on the return on investment? So, number one, I want to talk about the three packages I generally see when it comes to home staging. When you get a stager in there, what I typically see, although every stager is different, is you're offered one of three packages. The first package is usually in that 150 to 400 range, and it's going to be going through with you maybe for 20 minutes to 60 minutes and writing a room by room list of different recommendations they would give you so that you, putting in all your effort, can make your house look better, right? So they might tell you to put some touch-up paint, put an accent wall over here, get rid of this big bulky furniture, get rid of these photos, add something over here, whatever it is. They're going to give you that full list, but it's on you to get it all done. It's the most affordable, but it's also the one you got to put the most amount of effort into, and you've got the least amount of guidance on. All right. The second package is kind of an intermediate package where they're going to come in and they're going to help you move some of that stuff. And they're going to tell you, hey, this needs to go into storage. I want to move this rug back here or add this rug, or hey, let's open up these blinds while we've got somebody coming through. They're physically going to come through and they're going to spend maybe 2-3 hours with you going through and doing these different things. Now, I've seen those packages start at maybe $500 on the lower end and go all the way up to maybe $1,000 to $1,500, depending upon how much they got to do, how big your house is, how receptive you are to it, and how much effort they physically have to put into it, right? And then the third package is kind of the big package. And this is the one I really see a lot with vacant homes, especially builders or higher priced homes. If you're looking at 7, 8, 900 or any 7-figure home, this is what you're usually going to see. And that's where you're going to come in and say, hey, we're going to actually add some inventory, some furniture that we've got. We're going to add some vases, or if you're fancy, vases, and put some flowers over here. And we're going to put a painting up over here and a rug down here and a dining room table over there. And they might not do the whole house. They might do the whole house. They might not. But typically you're going to see them do the dining room. You're going to see them do the living room, and then they're maybe going to do one of the bedrooms, probably the master bedroom, right? And that's typically what they're going to do at a minimum. If you've got a backyard with a pool area, stuff like that, maybe they'll put a little set of furniture out there with a table and a couch and a couple chairs, whatever it is. You'll see some of that too. And typically, that's not as much of a flat fee as it is a monthly fee, right? They'll have some sort of base fee, like whatever it is, say it's $1,000. And then it's a certain amount per month in rental fees for all that furniture. So if you get a ton of furniture, a big house, and you're doing every single room, it might be $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month. If you've got a smaller house and you're only doing, kind of like we said, the dining, kitchen, and master bedroom, you might be looking at $1,000 to $1,500 a month, right? A lot of people too on a vacant home will only keep it in there for maybe 30 days. So they're only paying one rental fee. You're going to have your hottest buyers in the first 30 days. You're going to get your photos done in the first 30 days. So that's a way to reduce costs, right? So those are kind of the three general packages I see. Lizette, I want to ask you, going in and talking with a seller for the first time, is staging something that you bring up? Is it something that they bring up? And what's your recommendation when they start asking you questions about it?
Well, when I meet a seller, I like to go through first and see what the scenario is. Are they going to be staying in the property? Or are they going to be moving out? Do they have really nice furniture? Do they have outdated furniture? Is the goal just to get the property cleaned up because they've been there for so many years and they're still living in the property? So maybe we really don't want to bring new stuff in. So I kind of walk them through the process, the pros and cons, and walk them through each room and see how can we improve this living space. But I think it's so important for a seller to keep in mind, specifically if a property is going to be vacant, and specifically if you have a property in a lifestyle area. So for example, if you have a home near the water and near the ocean, let's spruce it up. Let's bring some blue into the house. Let's bring, I don't know, big fish, put it on the wall, make it a nice and ocean feel. And people come in and they're going to want to have that lifestyle, living near the water, living near the beach. If you're on the golf course, put some golf clubs in your spare room.
Perfect.
That how many comments I've gotten on buyers walked in and be like, oh, how nice. I could just pick up the golf clubs from my office and walk right out into the backyard and golf course.
Yeah.
So keep in mind the lifestyle that you're selling with your home as well.
Guys, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, if you got a question, a comment, anything like that, please put it in the comments and we'll absolutely get back to you before the end of this video. Lissette, I think a lot of what you said was spot on. I think that's great advice. And you know, a lot of people are going to give you a little bit of pushback, especially when you start talking about that second and third tier package I was talking about. It's a little bit pricier, but really most people, not all people, especially if you've got cash challenges, but most people want to get the most for their house, right? And when I say the most, I don't necessarily mean the sales price. I mean what they're walking with. So I've talked about commission before. There's reasons, assuming you're getting more for a higher commission, which that's dependent on, you know, the realtor you're working with. If you're getting more in your commission, maybe this 1% higher commission will average you 3% higher prices. It makes complete sense to pay more in commission. If that realtor wants to charge more in commission, but they can't show you a statistical difference in what you're going to net, why would you pay the additional commission, right? I think the same thing when it comes to staging. If you can show me that by investing $1, I'm going to walk with $2, I absolutely want to do it. So I do want to talk about some of these numbers that I'm seeing from the different websites as far as the rate of return. But before I do, Lissette, can you give me maybe the top 5 staging tips that you can think of that you tend to give people, you, maybe not even the stager, right? You can give it right off the bat, that you give a lot of people walking in. I've got some that I want to add too, but I want to hear what you've got to say.
The top 3 off the top of my head is, okay, first of all, always curb appeal. Let's spruce up the outside. Let's make sure the grass is nice and green. Let's clean up the mulch area, any debris outside, get all the weeds out. Those are going to be eye-catching right away. Someone pulls in, if you have to pressure wash, make sure there's no dirt or bugs or beehives around the doors. So first impression right away. Second one, declutter. Let's get stuff on the counters. Pretend like you're not living in the property. Less is always more. And you know, I feel for my sellers because they are living in the property and these are not easy adjustments to make all the time. But if you keep it a certain way while you have it on the market and just get adjusted to putting stuff under the counters and hiding stuff away, makes the process a little bit easier. When you do have a showing pop up short notice and you only have to wipe down the countertops. Declutter, get rid of all the personal items out of the way. And if you have big, bulky furniture, specifically in a small room, let's get it out. If you can do any touch-up painting, great. Those are just really quick fixes that are not going to cost you a ton of money, but are going to make a world of a difference when it comes to showing and getting that feedback and that interest from the buyers.
Yeah, those are great. And I was just checking things off my list as you were saying them. So you're hitting all the big ones. One of the one that I learned about from a stager is when you open, regardless of the room, but it's usually a bedroom, when you open that door to that room, the wall that it opens to, right? Let's say the handle's on the right and you open it up. That wall on your right, you want to try to keep that as clear as possible because as people come in, that's the first wall they're looking at. And if you've got it's almost always a giant dresser and it's a big old bulky sucker, man, people are going to instantly feel like that room is smaller, even if it's a nice, spacious room. So if you can get that dresser out of there, that's best. If you can't, go put it on one of the other walls to make that room feel a little bit bigger. Also, at showings, open up your windows, open up your blinds, make sure all your light bulbs work, make sure they're the same color. It feels off when you walk through and this room's got yellow light bulbs, this one's got white light bulbs, this one's got half and half, this one's got one that doesn't work. It just doesn't look good, right? And those two things combined, the light bulbs and opening the windows, I'll tell you, you might be listening to this saying, well, duh, of course we're going to do that. But I can't tell you, and Lissette, I'm sure you'll agree with me, go look on Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, Redfin, whatever site you want to pick, and start looking at $800,000, $900,000 homes, $1 million homes, and you will see that they've got their lights off, windows closed, a cat is sitting on the counter, right? Anybody who doesn't like cats isn't going to like that. You've got cages and dog bowls all over the place. You've got blankets laying on the floor. People at all price points don't take advantage of making sure that they could get the most amount of money for their home. So these really small things, yes, they're small, yes, they're simple, but if you do them, holy smokes, they're going to have a big impact. Oh, I thought I had one more, but I think you touched on all of them. So yeah, those
You know
are
what
some of
I
the
like
biggest.
to do a little bit? Also, just a little nitpick. Some of my vacant properties that I get from my investors, the funniest thing, we put Perrier water in the kitchen. And right away, you see a buyer's reaction. They walk in
Yes,
and they see the Perrier water, and it's like, oh, how nice.
because you
And
feel a
lemons.
certain way. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's that cost you? 10, $20 for a few bottles
Yeah,
to sit
most.
there?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
some lemons.
exactly. And you can go back to like try to tantalize all the senses, right? Like everything we're talking about so far has been vision, but they always talk about having certain candles, not overpowering, but
Mhm.
certain candles, and maybe getting a fresh sheet of cookies baked, right? And now when you take them out, yes, you can have the cookies, but you also have that smell. It starts to smell like home. Just a lot of little things you can do. And again, when you get a stager in there, they're going to go through all these different things and more with you, right? So I looked up 5 different sites, bigger sites that were giving me numbers. Now, I will say these numbers are all over the place, but all they scream to me is it absolutely makes sense to stage your home. I'm going to put a caveat on these. You're going to see that all these say that you're making X percent more when you sell your home. But looking at the way it's verbalized, some of these I think are stating that you're selling for this much more when you stage your home. And some of them are saying the average price point is this much more. Well, there's a difference because the average, let's say $250,000 seller is not going to stage at the same rate as an $800,000 seller. So you're going to look at a lot of 250 homes not be included in those stats, and a lot of 800 homes are going to be included in those stats. So just because the average sales price of a stage home is higher doesn't necessarily mean you get more, but some of these did verbalize it as in you would get more. But I guarantee you, and I'm going to tell you what I tell my sellers at the end. So LinkedIn had an article said you get 8 to 10% higher, right? In Port St. Lucie, average home is $400,000. That's $40,000. Bank rate is at 7.1%. Let's just say 7%. That's $28,000. Redfin says 5 to 20. That's a huge gap. But even at 5, that's 20 grand. The Zebra, never heard of them, but they're saying 20 to 25%. Realtor.com is saying 20%, right? So this is a lot of money that you're able to pull in extra. And yes, it might cost you $500 to, let's say, $2, $3, $4,000, depending upon how big your place is, how much furniture you need, and how long you want to keep it. But would you give someone $4,000 if you knew you were going to get back $20, $30, $40,000? And the answer is obviously yes, right? So, and guys, for some of the more cash-strapped people, you've got different options. You might have a
Mhm.
realtor who will chip in and you pay them at closing. You might have a loan option that you could go find or your realtor can help you find. You might have the stager who will charge you 50% up front, 50% when it closes. You've got a lot of different things that either you and or your realtor can negotiate to get the job done. But at the end of the day, you absolutely want to do it. I don't know that there's any instance where you're not going to make your money back and a heck of a lot more. I usually tell my sellers, listen, on a $400,000 sale, there's no way you're not going to make 10, 20 grand more. No way. And if it's costing you a grand, 2 grand to do it, which is the most typical price, it's a no-brainer. And Lissette, you've seen it. When you're
Mhm.
walking through, let's say 5 cookie cutter homes, and they're all roughly the same layout, roughly all the same neighborhood, they're roughly all the same square footage, and they're all, let's say, vacant, right? And you walk in and they like it, but they're not getting that overwhelmed, like wow feel. Next one, same thing. Next one, same thing. You walk into that 5th one, it's the same thing. You and I know it as realtors. And if you ask the buyers and they really look, they would say it's the same home. But because it's staged and it's got the pretty vase with the flowers
Mhm.
and the red and it's got all white everything, making it look cleaner and bigger and more spacious and newer and more modern, even though it's the same doggone thing we've already looked at. And you've got a small couch with a chair by it in the living room, and they've got the TV on, and it's got classical music and a beach scene, and you've got cookies sitting on the counter with Lisette's Perrier waters, and you know what I'm saying? And the house
Yeah.
smells amazing. You're gonna look, if you're a realtor and you see this all the time, you're gonna look at those buyers' faces and you see them go, oh my God, honey, and they'll grab their husband's shoulder. Oh, honey, I love this one. This is so much better than everything we looked at. No, it's not. It's the
Mhm.
same doggone house we looked at, but your human mind, your emotions, even me, when I see it too, instantly I'm like, I like this one way better.
Oh
But
yeah.
when I think logically, I'm like, well, it's no better than the others, right? So you can take the human mind and impact it immensely with these small things that you can add, these small things you can change. Like I said, on the lower end, you're going to pay 150 to 500 for a list. On the higher end, you're paying a couple grand, maybe 3, 4 grand. Again, that's the most expensive I've ever seen. And you're going to get a ton back in return. We've got a comment. I haven't even read it yet, but let's see what it is. This is from Mr. Brian Pruitt, one of
Yeah.
my favorite realtors. Furniture can also be rented. Contracts can be negotiated similar to leases, i.e., short term, long term, and monthly. That's exactly right. So, a lot of these stagers are going to offer this stuff. It's part of their fee. They're going to do it. They're going to do all the negotiation, or they already own the furniture. They've got it in a warehouse, and you're literally negotiating with them. Or if you're getting the list and it's cheaper, but you want to go do the furniture on your own terms, take your own time, and all that, like Brian said, you can do that as well, right? So you got a lot of options, but really at the end of the day, the only option is you absolutely should stage your house. Lizette, do you have any final remarks or anything you want to add?
No, that's a ton of great information. I couldn't agree more. When I got asked recently by a seller, do I leave this room empty or do I leave the bed there? I'm like, leave the bed. You could get some furniture out, make it seem a little bit more of a spacious room, but leave the bed. You're not using the room. We could put some nice comforters, some nice pillows, but staged is always better than empty.
And guys, some connections to great local stagers, depending upon the market you're in. Reach out to Lizette or myself. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us all over. And we're more than happy to share with you who it is we use. Guys, have an absolutely amazing Monday.